When you think of a country, you probably imagine bustling cities, vibrant cultures, and millions of people going about their daily lives. But what if we told you that some countries barely have anyone living in them at all? Whether due to extreme climates, political instability, or sheer remoteness, these nations are practically empty. Today on Globe Discoveries, we're counting down the 10 countries with the lowest populations and uncovering the surprising reasons why almost nobody calls them home. Some are stunningly beautiful yet uninhabitable, while others have simply failed to attract residents. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more engaging content. Number 10. Suriname. Nestled on the northern coast of South America, Suriname is one of the least populated countries on the continent. Despite its lush rainforests, stunning wildlife, and rich cultural diversity, the nation remains largely empty, with just 600,000 people spread across 63,000 square miles. That means it has a population density of only 10 people per square mile, making it one of the most sparsely populated countries in the world. One major reason for Suriname's low population is its challenging geography. According to the World Bank, more than 90% of the country is covered by dense jungle, making it difficult to develop cities, infrastructure, and agriculture. Most of Suriname's population is concentrated along the coast, while the interior remains nearly untouched. Another factor is the lack of economic opportunities. While Suriname has significant natural resources like gold and oil, its economy has struggled due to political instability, corruption, and reliance on commodity exports. According to Reuters, Suriname's financial crisis in 2020 led to severe inflation, making life even harder for locals. With limited job prospects and much of the country uninhabitable, Suriname remains one of the emptiest places on Earth. Unless major economic reforms or infrastructure projects take place, its population is unlikely to grow significantly anytime soon. Number 9. Mongolia. Mongolia, a vast landlocked country between Russia and China, is one of the most sparsely populated nations on Earth. Despite its incredible landscapes, rich nomadic history, and growing economy, Mongolia is home to just 3.4 million people spread across 603,000 square miles. That's fewer than 6 people per square mile. The harsh environment and extreme climate conditions make it difficult for large-scale settlement to thrive. According to the National Statistics Office of Mongolia, nearly half of the population lives in Ulaanbaatar, the capital city. The rest of the country is made up of vast grasslands, deserts, and mountains, where traditional herding communities struggle against harsh winters, known as densities, that can wipe out entire livestock populations. This forces many rural Mongolians to migrate to urban centers in search of better opportunities. Economic factors also play a major role in Mongolia's low population. While the country is rich in natural resources like coal, copper, and gold, its economy remains heavily dependent on mining and vulnerable to global commodity price fluctuations. According to the Asian Development Bank, job opportunities outside the mining sector are limited, leading to high unemployment rates in rural areas. With its extreme weather, lack of infrastructure in rural areas, and a heavy reliance on livestock herding, Mongolia remains largely empty. Without major advancements in agriculture, infrastructure, and economic diversification, large portions of the country will likely stay sparsely inhabited. Number 8. Namibia. Namibia, located in southwestern Africa, is one of the driest and least populated countries in the world. Covering an area of 318 square miles with a population of just 2.5 million, the country has a population density of only 8 people per square mile. The biggest reason? The vast Namib Desert, which stretches across much of the country and makes habitation nearly impossible. According to the Namibia Statistics Agency, over 50% of the population lives in rural areas, where access to water, healthcare, and job opportunities is scarce. Most people are concentrated in the north, while the southern and western regions remain largely uninhabited due to harsh desert conditions. The country's low rainfall and high evaporation rates make agriculture difficult, forcing many Namibians to rely on livestock farming and tourism. While Namibia has a stable political system and a growing economy, its dependence on mining and tourism makes it vulnerable to economic fluctuations. According to the World Bank, Namibia has one of the highest levels of income inequality in the world, meaning that even though the country has valuable resources, wealth is not evenly distributed, and poverty remains a serious issue. With limited arable land, extreme heat, and vast uninhabitable areas, Namibia's population is unlikely to grow rapidly, unless major advances in water management and sustainable agriculture are made. Much of the country will remain an empty expanse for decades to come. Number 7. Iceland. Iceland, often called the land of fire and ice, is known for its stunning landscapes, geothermal activity, and breathtaking waterfalls. Despite its beauty, Iceland remains one of the least populated countries in the world, with only 375,000 people spread across 40,000 square miles, a population density of just 9 people per square mile. The combination of harsh climate, volcanic activity, and limited habitable land makes large-scale settlement difficult. According to Statistics Iceland, nearly 2/3 of the population lives in Reykjavik, the capital, while the rest of the country consists of vast lava fields, glaciers, and rugged mountains. Many remote areas have no roads, making them completely inaccessible for most of the year. The extreme weather, with long winters and unpredictable storms, further discourages settlement in rural areas. The economy, while strong, is highly dependent on tourism, fishing, and renewable energy, making it vulnerable to global market shifts. The cost of living is also among the highest in the world, with imported goods and housing prices making life expensive for locals. According to the Icelandic government, many younger Icelanders are choosing to move abroad in search of better economic opportunities, leaving parts of the country even emptier. With limited farmland, unpredictable volcanic activity, and an expensive economy, Iceland's population is unlikely to see significant growth. While it remains a popular travel destination, large portions of the country will remain uninhabited for the foreseeable future. Number 6. Guyana. Guyana, located on the northern coast of South America, is one of the most underpopulated countries in the region. Despite its lush rainforests, rich biodiversity, and booming oil industry, the country has only 800,000 residents spread across 83,000 square miles, a population density of just 10 people per square mile. The dense jungles, remote terrain, and weak infrastructure make large-scale settlement difficult. According to the World Bank, over 90% of Guyana's population lives along the coastal strip, while the interior remains largely untouched. The thick rainforest, swamps, and lack of transportation networks make it challenging for people to establish communities further inland. Extreme weather, including seasonal flooding and tropical storms, adds another layer of difficulty to expansion efforts. Despite its recent oil boom, Guyana's economy has historically struggled with poverty, corruption, and lack of infrastructure development. Many young professionals are leaving the country to seek better opportunities abroad, leading to a brain drain that further limits population growth. According to the Inter-American Development Bank, Guyana has one of the highest emigration rates in the world, with many of its skilled workers relocating to North America. With its vast, uninhabited rainforests, limited infrastructure, and climate challenges, Guyana is unlikely to see a population surge anytime soon. Unless major investments in transportation and economic diversification are made, much of the country will remain an empty, untouched wilderness. Number 5. Central African Republic. The Central African Republic is one of the least populated and most underdeveloped nations in Africa. With a population of just 5 million people spread across 240,000 square miles, it has a population density of only 21 people per square mile. Years of civil unrest, political instability, and economic hardship have left much of the country uninhabited and underdeveloped. According to the United Nations, over 60% of Central African Republic population lives in rural areas, where access to clean water, healthcare, and infrastructure is severely limited. Many regions remain completely cut off due to poor road networks and ongoing conflicts between rebel groups and the government. This lack of security has forced many residents to abandon their homes and migrate to safer regions or refugee camps. The economy is heavily reliant on subsistence farming, logging, and diamond exports, but corruption and lack of investment have stunted growth. The World Bank reports that Central African Republic is one of the poorest countries in the world, with over 70% of its population living below the poverty line. Without major improvements in governance and security, much of the country will remain empty and undeveloped. Experts warn that unless long-term stability is achieved, Central African Republic population growth will remain stagnant. If the violence and poor infrastructure persist, large portions of the country will continue to be deserted by 2030. Number 4. Botswana. Botswana, located in southern Africa, is one of the least populated countries on the continent despite its vast land area. According to the United Nations, Botswana has a population of just 2.6 million people, spread across an area larger than France. One major reason for Botswana's emptiness is its harsh climate. The country is dominated by the Kalahari Desert, which covers around 70% of its land, making agriculture and large-scale settlement extremely difficult. With limited water sources and unpredictable rainfall, sustaining a larger population is a challenge. Another factor is economic structure. While Botswana is one of Africa's most politically stable countries, its economy is heavily reliant on diamond mining, with little diversification. Many young people leave the country in search of better job opportunities in South Africa and Namibia. Wildlife conservation laws also contribute to its low population density. Botswana is home to some of the largest protected wildlife reserves, and much of the land is set aside for national parks and conservation areas, limiting urban expansion. While Botswana enjoys political stability, economic progress, and high living standards, its harsh desert landscape and limited development opportunities keep its population surprisingly low. Number 3. Greenland. Greenland, the world's largest island, is also one of the most desolate places on Earth. Despite covering 836,000 square miles, it has a population of just 56,000 people, giving it a staggering population density of less than 0.1 people per square mile. The extreme Arctic climate, harsh winters, and vast ice sheets make most of Greenland uninhabitable. According to the Greenlandic government, over 80% of the country is covered in ice, leaving only a few coastal areas suitable for habitation. With limited infrastructure and accessibility, many small settlements are slowly being abandoned as residents migrate to larger towns like Nuuk. The lack of economic diversity, outside of fishing and limited mining, has further prevented population growth. The cost of living in Greenland is also exceptionally high, as most goods need to be imported from Denmark or other distant markets. The Greenlandic government has struggled to attract foreign investment due to its extreme environment and isolation. Without significant infrastructure development, Greenland is likely to remain one of the emptiest places on Earth. Unless major breakthroughs in sustainable Arctic living occur, Greenland's population may shrink even further by 2030. With its harsh conditions and economic limitations, it will continue to be one of the most remote and underpopulated regions on the planet. Number 2. Libya. Libya, a North African country with a land area larger than Alaska, has a population of only 6.7 million people, making it one of the most sparsely populated countries in the region. According to the World Bank, over 90% of Libya's land is desert, making vast areas of the country uninhabitable. One of the biggest reasons for Libya's low population is its extreme climate. The Sahara Desert covers most of the country, with scorching summer temperatures exceeding 50 degrees Celsius (122 degrees Fahrenheit), with minimal freshwater sources. Living outside major coastal cities like Tripoli and Benghazi is almost impossible. Political instability is another factor. Since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, Libya has been plagued by civil war, economic collapse, and ongoing conflict. According to the United Nations Refugee Agency (UNHCR), thousands of Libyans have fled the country, reducing the population even further. The lack of economic diversification also plays a role. Libya is heavily dependent on oil exports, but years of war and sanctions have crippled its economy. With few industries outside oil, young professionals leave Libya for better opportunities in Europe or the Middle East. Despite its oil wealth and strategic location, Libya's harsh desert landscape, political turmoil, and economic struggles make it one of the least populated countries in the world. Number 1. Vatican City. Vatican City, the smallest country in the world, is also one of the least populated. With an area of only 0.17 square miles and a population of around 800 residents, it is more of a religious and political headquarters than a traditional nation. Almost all residents are either clergy, Swiss guards, or officials of the Catholic Church, meaning there is no permanent civilian population. According to the Vatican's official records, citizenship is not granted by birth, but by appointment and employment, meaning the population remains strictly controlled. Once an individual no longer works for the Vatican, they lose their citizenship and must relocate. This unique system ensures that Vatican City will always remain one of the emptiest countries in the world. With its strict residency laws, lack of housing, and religious governance, Vatican City is unlikely to ever see significant population growth. While it may never become completely uninhabited, it will always remain one of the world's most empty and unique nations. From deserted Arctic landscapes to vanishing island nations, these countries prove that not all land is meant to be filled with people. Whether due to climate, geography, political instability, or strict laws, their populations remain shockingly low. Some, like Tuvalu, face an uncertain future, while others, like Greenland, will likely stay sparsely populated for centuries to come. Which of these countries surprised you the most? Do you think any of them could see a population boom in the future, or are they destined to remain empty forever? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more fascinating insights into our world.